there's been a lot of chatter ever since Brexit that all the wealthy people are going to be leaving Britain. We're a sinking ship, we're fiscally unstable, our economy is rubbish, and especially non-doms are giving up and going home. And there'll be people who say, well, good riddance. If you're, you know, a non-dom and a millionaire, why are we accommodating you in this country if you're then not sort of paying tax and probably contributing here? That's just mad left-wingers. But it turns out that's probably not really happening.
I don't think so. I mean, they have done a survey. The best way to tell, they say, is to survey estate agents that handle high-end expensive homes. And the top firm in that category, the head of that firm said he hasn't had a single non-dom tell him to sell his house.
Right.
Many of them are going to live abroad and be here for the 90 days per year they're allowed to without affecting their tax status. But they're keeping their home here and their families here, some of them, because they like the culture, the life, the schools, etc. So they're not fleeing, but some people, mainly male, as far as I can tell, are living abroad, but coming back here at least 90 days a year. I mean, I have one friend who's extraordinarily wealthy, and he keeps saying, I'm moving, but it doesn't happen. So, you know.
What I have noticed, though, is that there's a lot of Brits, and I think it's sort of, rather than the super wealthy Brits, but sort of the middle class and the upper middle class of Brits who are leaving, who are kind of fed up with this country and saying they want to go somewhere else.
But that's the brain drain. That's always been going on. It comes and it goes. You know, they leave for the States or Australia or Canada or other places. But those aren't non-doms, those are Brits, so different.
But should we actually worry about that if we've got the, you know, and when you say the word brain drain, it definitely has negative connotations. Nobody wants to say, oh, great, you know, we're going to have to get a load of doctors and nurses in from the developing world because all of ours are going to Australia instead.
Yeah, I don't think that's the biggest problem on our agenda at the moment. I think we've got bigger problems than the relatively small number of wealthy Brits who leave, and they're calling the departure of non-doms, people who are not British domiciled, as a myth. There aren't that many going.
I tell you, as seemingly fled the country, the Sunaks.
Yes, he was photographed. He couldn't wait.
He couldn't wait. I know.
He was photographed outside a Beverly Hills restaurant the other day, I think.
Yeah.
And, yeah, well, you know, he and his wife both went to school. They met in school in America, in California. And, hey, if they want to go live in California because people are saying the Labour Party should look closely because you can learn a lesson how to drain everything good.
Well, sadly for Rishi Sunak, he didn't actually lose his seat, did he, in Richmond? So he's got to be relegated to the green benches and right at the back.
Right
so
at the back.
He can go back to constituency issues, surgeries, Mrs. Miggins' leaking roof, and all the glamour of having fallen from the top of the greasy pole.
If he does a Rees-Mogg and lies down on one of those green benches, we'll all see his ankles because his trousers are so short.
Well, that was a mental image that I wasn't expecting, and I'm glad that you were talking about we'd all see his ankles, because I didn't quite know where you were going to go with that for a moment there, Roger. But I mean, you know, it's funny, we talk about migration all the time, constantly, from the perspective of people with low skills who don't contribute economically, and I think that this always does end up being a class issue, and what I've said repeatedly is when you're from the middle classes and the skilled classes and the grey-collar classes and you work next to people from other countries, those people have probably had a very good education, have been exposed to Western values, contribute, pay tax, want to integrate into Britain, speak the language, and so on and so forth. So it really is, to me, about quality more than quantity.
I think so, but then, you know, you have people from, I guess what you could call the lower classes who come and do a fabulous job for the NHS.
Yeah.
So we need all kinds of people. You need all kinds. For legal immigration, which really benefits every country that it happens in, you need people from all different strata of society.
Within a limit.
Well, there have to be limits, obviously, yeah. You can't do an Angela Merkel.
No. Don't mention her name in the studio again. I'm still sort of shivering at the prospect of how far she got in her vision of destroying Europe. Roger, thank you ever so much.